Well, the reason that we're doing this, a little bit different platform, is I wanted to interview Max and find out all the stuff. Like, we know him as a teacher, we know him as a psychic medium, but all the stuff that's not, shared about him on a daily basis, all the stuff that, unless you're really close to him, you don't know. And maybe you could be really close to him and you still don't know this stuff. So I was going to ask some questions about him today and see what we can learn. So how does that sound, Max?
I think it's awesome. I think it's great. Let's see if more people come in. Let's wait a couple more minutes and see if people come in. If you're coming in, please say hello to us and say hi. We'd love to hear from you. But you can watch us on the replay too. So I just wanted to say that. But I'm all game to, I just poured myself a little bit of wine, so I'm chillax, so I'm open, I'm
perfect.
Open.
Okay. So the title of my new show is at the end, it's Your Greatest Message. So at the end of this, we'll wrap up and we will learn, like, if Max has one thing that he wishes that he could share with everybody. That's how we will close this. But there's all those little pieces leading up, like how did he get to that one thing that he wants to share with people. So knowing that you're a teacher, you're a spiritual teacher, but you also taught at NYU, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep. Mm-hmm.
So you taught with kids and some adults, is that right? Theater?
Yes. Well, let's go back. I came to New York to pursue my acting career because I was an actor forever, and I worked in theater education in Los Angeles, working for a company called Kaiser Permanente. Do you know Kaiser Permanente?
Yeah, I was born in Kaiser.
Oh, you were born in Kaiser. Hello, Roberta. So I was born in Kaiser, and I started acting when I was a very little boy, and I started being in plays since I was very young, and I knew that's what I wanted to be for a long time. So I did plays, I did musicals, I did all that stuff. And I worked in LA doing a lot of different things, but I worked for Kaiser doing this education show. It was called Professor Bodywise's Traveling Menagerie. And we would go to schools, and which is not what the New York thing was about, but we would go to schools, and it was a whole show with costume characters, and you played all different things, and it was about being healthy for like elementary school kids.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So when I came to New York, I started auditioning, I started doing, and life of an actor is not easy. It's not easy. But I was doing hair. This is an interesting story. I was doing hair, which I did because I was a horrible waiter. So while I was acting, I was also doing hair, which I did really well at. It was very easy for me. And I came to New York and I got a job at a hair salon. And I was doing this woman's hair one day. I was just giving her a blow dry.
Oh, God. That's so funny.
Oh, that's a whole other story. But
I guess so.
A blow dry. And she looked at me and she goes, "Are you an actor?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually I am." And she was like, "I thought you were." She goes, "You'd be perfect for this program I started at NYU with my friends like 10 years ago. It's where we use theater to teach children, and you'd be great at it." And I was like, "Oh." So she goes, "My friend Linda, She goes, "I was just visiting." I went there, I interviewed, I auditioned, and I got the job. And it was a really great job, and it was really fun. And I ended up having a steady paycheck. And it was something where we used theatrical story, and we used the story to teach kids, and it was interactive. It wasn't like a play, and we weren't teaching them how to act. Me and another actor teacher were the main characters of the story, and then all the kids were the other characters. And it was very improvisational. And so it was all about social issues and different kinds of things where we had no answers. We were characters. Just say, we would always take them someplace. Like, we're going to Japan and we're going to do this. And it was younger kids. It was early childhood. And then the kids had to come up with all the answers. And it was really rewarding, and it was really interesting, and I was really good at it. I loved it, and it was really fun. And so that ended up bringing me to New York and doing all that stuff. And I ended up becoming a program director and managing about 30 actors. And I did that for like 17 years. And
Wow.
I realized that I was a really good teacher. And I loved teaching. And I also taught teachers. We did a lot of puppet work and stuff. I taught teachers how to do it. It was really fun. And I loved being with the kids, and it was really fun. But part of me always still wanted to teach spirituality and teach people about all the stuff that I knew about spirituality and intuitive development and everything. So I finally ended up leaving there and starting my own business. So,
but I think it's interesting because you know how the miracle of you doing the hair and the lady steering you that direction, but then you were put in a position where you learn skills that you now use every day. And I think it's important for people to think about that, because sometimes, and there's one person that I'm thinking of when I say this, you know, she gets frustrated because she wants to be doing more spiritual teaching and more, you know, psychic medium stuff, but she's works full time and she's got kids. And so it's like, how do I have time to do this? But it's really those skills that she's using right now really will help her later on. And I think it's important for people to realize you were there for 17 years, right? Yeah. It's not like you were there for 6 months and then you walked away and started doing your spiritual teaching. You were there for 17 years.
I was. And I think that is a really great life lesson, is that I was the performer part of me and creative part of me was being completely fed. Yes. We were writing scripts. I was acting. We were doing puppets. I was with kids, with other creative people. So that was being filled on some level. But yes. I was also being really challenged to learn how to be a really good teacher.
Yeah.
And so I think that you're right. You know, wherever we are in our lives, you know, it may be prepping you for something else.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Like I never thought I was going to be a teacher. I was like, I was going to be an actor. I'm an actor. Like when I did hair, it's like I could have many years ago, I was offered by Jose Ibert, you know, Jose Ibert back in the day, big hairdresser.
Yeah.
I was offered to run one of his satellite salons because he thought I was the greatest hairdresser he'd ever seen. And I said, no, I'm an actor. So I could have been a multimillionaire freaking hairdresser, and I said, no, I'm an actor. And I just stuck to that. And now what I get to do is I kind of get to act and teach at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's one of the things that attracts people to you, right? Is you have that presence. You have that engaging presence. Absolutely, for sure. And it also gives you confidence, right? And anybody who knows the type of work that we do, if you're not confident delivering the messages, then people are like, I don't know what he talks about.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. So, okay, so we got that. And when I met you, I think this is kind of funny. So when I first met you or found your website, you were putting a lot of focus on angels. And the thing that I find funny about this is because, and I love angels, they're all around us, but I feel like angels are kind of like the gateway, right? They're the gateway to spirituality.
I love that. Yeah, because when I left and I said I was going to do my own business, I didn't know exactly. I'd been a Course in Miracles student for many years at that point. I had been an intuitive and I've done readings and everything. But something was like, your first thing needs to be about angels. And I was like, okay. And I followed it. And I had an angel, it's even up still somewhere, Angels Hear Us. And that became my very first thing. And I started to, because I've had really beautiful experiences with the angelic realm. And I love teaching people about it. So.
Well, and it's something that it's such a broad scope, right? Because I can't say all, but many religions talk about angels, right? So it's a very comfortable place for people to, if they want to start expanding and thinking about a little bit more woo-woo stuff, angels are the perfect
entree point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What if you had to choose one time in your life that was like the biggest change? Like if you had, where you draw a line in the sand and you're like, I was here and then this happened and now I'm completely different. What would that be?
Moving to New York.
For the first time or the second time?
The first time.
Okay.
Moving to New York. Yeah, and making that decision to move to New York because, well, I had decided years ago. I had come here 2 times on theater tours when I was like in high school and college and seen Broadway show. But I always felt like this pull to New York since I was a little kid. And so when I first came, and first of all, back in like the 80s, New York was like, a pit. But it had Broadway and it had everything. And anyone knows, there's an energy and crackling vibration here that was definitely not in Los Angeles. It was nowhere else. And it had theater and it had culture and it had the arts and it had everything that I loved. And so I had decided when I was like 16 that I was going to move here, but I didn't end up moving here until I was in my late 20s. So making that decision, and that is really what was the trajectory of what I am now.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, because I think it's, all of us come in with certain abilities, but many of us don't really allow those. It's kind of like clay that needs to be molded, right? Like you have to go through certain experiences and learn, right? Certain skill sets, whether it's just how you communicate, right? Learning how to communicate these messages. Something has to happen before you are ready to really share your experiences, right?
Right. I agree.
Okay. So you talk about this sometimes, your near-death experience, but I don't know that you have ever shared to people like what it was like. Did you go to the other side? Like, did you actually experience like what people talk about? I want to hear about it.
Oh boy. First of all, there is on my YouTube channel, there is one where I sat down and I finally just told the whole story. It's about an hour long, so I'm not going to take an hour, but about 8 years ago, let's rewind a little bit. I had been here for a long time. I had started my coaching business. I'd been doing things. And then I realized that going back to my family in California, that someone needed to be with my dad. My sister had lots of kids, my brother, whatever. And I was like, someone needed to be there with him. And I didn't have like a permanent gig. I could do my classes in California, whatever. And I made a decision to move to California. I kept this apartment, but I went over there. And while I was there, just I think it was about 8 months after I got there, I had this near-death experience. And now what happened was I was in, I think you know most of this stuff, but.
Well, I know this part. I know how it happened. Like I know the physical aspect of it.
Right. I was really sick, and then I would go to like urgent care and they'd be like, oh, you have a virus. You need to go home and sleep it off, like 2 times. And then the 3rd time I was so sick that I couldn't even walk, and I could hardly walk. And my dad can hardly even walk himself. And he had to get me in the car to take me to the emergency hospital. He had no idea what was going on with me. I was so cold. I couldn't even, whatever. So they checked me in, and it turns out that it ends up that my whole body started shutting down. My liver started shutting down. My intestines started shutting down. My lungs started shutting down. My heart was starting to shut down. Everything started to shut down. And they're like, this guy's going to die. He's going to die. And then they were like, before we have to stop all of this going on. So that what we're going to do is they put me into a coma, into an induced coma. So they put me into a coma because they figured, well, first of all, they needed to get me some CAT scans and all that stuff because they couldn't see what was happening inside of me. So they did that. They took CAT scans. They did all this stuff. And while I was in the coma, that is when I had my near-death experience. And this is how I always explain it. I kind of remembered that something was wrong, and then I was out for I don't remember a lot. And then all of a sudden I remembered my consciousness was in a place where it's like, wake up, Max, what's going on? And I realized that I was in between the worlds, basically. I was not dead. I was not alive. I was like somewhere in Never Never Land. And then the realization came to me, it's like, no, it's not Max, it's not you, it's your body. Your body is something's wrong with your body, it's not you. And there's a lot of lessons I learned. And as soon as I realized that it wasn't me, that it was my body, I went, ah. And then I completely relaxed. And this is when they said my heart had stopped and they didn't know what was going to happen to me and all this other stuff. And it was all free. It was just free. It was just free and open. And I didn't see a light. No one was calling me. I didn't look back at a tunnel. I was just in this space that I knew really well. I knew this space vibrationally and consciously. I was like, oh, ah. And there was nothing but joy, nothing but love. It was so incredibly free. And I remember that. And the next thing I remember is that I was starting to open my eyes and I looked down at my hand. I couldn't move. And I looked and I saw one of my best friends, Patrick, was holding my hand. And Patrick lives in Tennessee. And I realized, I was like, what? You know, you kind of like, what is going on? And then I was like, oh shit, this is bad. Because he had come all the way, because they were like, if you want to see Max, he's going. He's done. He's already died once, he's going to go. And then I was like, oh shit, this is a big deal. And then I started to recover, and then things started to change in my whole life. Now, that was the main experience. And it took me about 6 months to recover from that. In about 3.5 weeks, I lost almost 40 pounds.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And there was all this stuff. And they never really got what it was, but there was all these infectious disease people working on me. And 3 months prior, I had led a retreat in Belize with my friend Larissa and Denise. And we had gone to Belize. And when we were in Belize, we went through the rainforest and I got bit up all over the place. And then we went swimming in this freshwater lake with the waterfall, and it was just beautiful and everything. They believed that it was some kind of infection that got into me and lodged into my liver. And they had to drain my liver and all this stuff. They think that that's what it was. And then it took 3 months to manifest, and then it just started going through my whole body, and it just shut everything down. So that's
so
it.
Interesting. And you have said in the past that you've never liked like those warm tropical places.
And I've never liked Mexico. And it was in Belize.
Yeah.
I've always had this thing with Mexico. Nothing against Mexico, but as a little kid, we would go to Mexico and I would break out in hives and I would freak out and I'd want to leave. And this happened in Mexico.
Yeah. It's so interesting, like how certain things, there's certain things in my life that I've always just been like, I can't have it around me. I mean, this isn't an odd, kind of whatever. I like guns. Even as a little kid, that's a no-go in my life. Anywhere around me, not okay. And it's just so funny that we have certain things. And I think it's also I didn't have a near-death experience per se, but I had a major health thing, where everything changed and where I was just in bed for hours every day. And that's when my life changed, right? And there's so much that I can't even remember.
Yep.
And it was the same thing, like going to this place. It gosh, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like, well, whoops, all else falls away, right?
Oh,
Like,
literally.
yeah, it really does.
Let me say something really quickly. There's some people commenting. There's some people are on my Twitch. Listen, I'm new to Twitch, and we are streaming through Haps. And so, just so you know, if you're on Twitch, welcome. You can follow me there or not. This is my wonderful friend Polly over there.
Yeah.
And she's interviewing me about my life and what I've gone through. So, hello, Neil. Good to see you. Just wanted to say that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so I think it's interesting because just coincidentally, my husband and I, an hour ago, were having this conversation about the ability to, like, in this world, if you say that there's something, good or something, if you want to use that word, good, bad, or high vibrational, low vibrational, whatever. And my point is that you can connect to the good, right? You don't have to think that there's this lower vibrational energy that you have to connect to, right? It can all be good. And it's so interesting, like, and so he asked me, well, like, how do you understand it that way? And it's so interesting, like, how do you explain that that's like how you view it? It's such an interesting thing. And it's just like this inner knowledge, right? But
I agree. And every single thing that I had been teaching and studying for many, many, many years about how only love is real and joy is your natural state and everything. In that moment, I got it. It was like, it's true. It's not just words. This is the truth. The truth is, it is all joy. It is all freedom. It is all love. And it's experience, right, Polly? It's the experience of it, but you can't teach an experience. People have to walk through the experience.
But I think that's the piece, is like, I think that all of us have that in us somewhere, right?
We do. Of course we do.
We all have that. And to be able to trust, right? It's something like to be able to trust the version of the world, or the version of the universe that is good, which goes against so much of the stuff that we're told, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting, but it's like, I think the more that you are comfortable in having the idea of possibilities, the more you are in that place of, openness and expansion, versus where you think, I'll just throw this out there. Tiger would get in an accident. The place of assuming, well, he was on drugs or whatever. It's like that thing, right? You go, right? You know what I mean? Like, instead, it just changes the way you view the world and the way you move through life.
It does. And also, I'll say this really quickly, is that I don't know how to say it. I'll come back to it. I can't articulate it right now, but yeah. But ultimately, it is about experience. Our experiences either confirm or they deny things, and we have so many things in front of that state of freedom that. Oh, this is what I'm going to say. Let me say it like this. When I had my near-death experience, I was already 39 years old. And I had been doing this work a long time. And I think that kind of prepped me for being like, oh, this is what it's called. This is surrender. This is let go. I had done so much work that I knew in that moment, boom, here it is. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's also an interesting idea, because how when we talk about meditation, what your energy feels like, right? What you feel like, and that's one of the benefits of it. So you can you're not picking up other people's stuff or getting tricked into thinking that their stuff, what you feel like.
Yeah.
And so in the purest form, right? And so that's what's really interesting. If you were familiar with that, you cross over and you lost the Max that's all, mixed up with the world. You, on the other side, met only the purest form of Max energy, right? That blended in with all that is.
Right, because form all melts away.
Yeah.
And when the form melts away, what's left is freedom, truth, and joy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so cool. I mean, it is the coolest thing. And what I really like about it is many people have seen the way it is like it is like everything just, it's like slipping. It's like, like one time I wrote about it. It's like, like this seal is dying, but going on the waves. And it's like the form, the body just kind of slips away. And then it really is like this essence, but that essence can blend in with it's like the colors are more than colors. The colors have texture, the color, like all senses blend. And then, but you're blending with the senses. And that's the craziest thing.
That there's no where you end and it begins. There's no where it ends and you begin. That's what I always say about God. Like, God, source, grace, love. There's nowhere where it ends and you begin. And there's nowhere where you end and it begins. It's all the same thing. And when you have these experiences in meditation or incredible, whatever, spiritual awakenings, you get it. Or you have a near-death experience and you really get it.
Yeah. But I think, okay, so we get that. But I think it's interesting because I believe that even as you are melding, if we want to use the term, like we're melding, we still have thought, we still have awareness, right? We still have awareness. And I think that that's the interesting thing. And I don't know that if it's like the awareness of the person or maybe the awareness of God, but you still have this awareness, right? You still have.
It's to me, I get totally, this is how I see it, is that there's a reason why, and I'm not saying it's only in the Bible. Listen.
Yeah.
In the Bible, it says, and God said, I am that I am. Doesn't say, I am God. I am a man. I am happy. It's the presence. What the awareness is the thing. It's not even awareness of something. It's the I am presence.
Right, and I agree with that. Like really, we are the awareness, and I get that. But I think that that's the interesting thing is I still feel like there's some. And this, we could do another show about this, but there's still some aspect of like we are the awareness, but it's like we're a piece of. It's almost like if you look at like there's all these different spectrums of light coming from a prism or something. So it's like we are absolutely connected. We are absolutely create one thing, but we have this
individual awareness.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that. And it's kind of like the analogy, but it's been overused, but it's appropriate here, is that the wave is not separate from the ocean, but it is a wave. The ray of sun is not separate from the sun. It's still the sun, but it is that wave. So there's a wave or there's a ray called Polly, but it's not disconnected from all that is.
Right. And the interesting thing is like that awareness. So I'll say the awareness of Polly on the other side. You can still have like different experiences, like different light coming in, different experiences coming through. And even like they're showing me right now, like that awareness of Polly can separate and then come back together, right? It's kind of like, those lava lamps. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Like things like, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh my God. You need to write a book called Life is a Lava Lamp.
Life in my awareness in the lava lamp.
So explain why it's a lava lamp, because explain it. This is good.
Because it can separate, it can merge, it can take different shapes, but what's causing the the separation is overused, but what's causing that shape shift is really these different energies or different vibrations coming in, and you're getting these and here's the thing, like when that occurs, it's really because that awareness of Holly wants to experience, like wants to see what is this like when I live in blue? What is this like when I smell the roses, right? But then you have the opportunity to mold back together.
Totally, totally. And oh my God, that's so perfect. Jay just said these thoughts you both have raised are such good tenets from to build upon. Life is a lava lamp. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's really true. And I think that that's the truth, is that you go, you experience, you do, but you always come back to the blob at the end.
Yeah.
And that's the awareness. And then you go do this and everything. It reminds me a lot of the Seth, nature of personality. It's like you go do this, you have this thing, but you always are going to be connected or come back to the blob.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and I think that that's, because both of us teach, I think that that's the piece, is like, if people can understand that the safety of being flexible, the safety of being open, you're still right. You're not losing anything.
Read what Jay just wrote.
I'm not reading any of it. I can't see it.
You can't see the comment? Oh, on yours, go to the left and hit the comments thing on the top, and then the comments will come up. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, geez. Okay.
He says, let's all move to the blob.
Well, we're forming the blob, right?
We are the blob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awareness. Oh my God, I love this conversation. It's so good.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, I do too. And it's but the interesting thing is it's so easy, right? Like if you've ever tasted it, you never forget. And so it's easy to be there, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the piece. So here's something. So both of us want to be able to share this idea, share this energy with others. And I believe that, even when, just like what we're doing right now, we're sharing that energy and we're giving people the possibility, making it easier for them to connect to this. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. That we are the world. I mean, Bob. Yes, I agree with that. And to me, this is how I look at our work, or my work. Not to say my work. My work is to be the kind of conduit to help people to remember that the blob is the thing.
What do you mean?
When they start to remember that the blob is their thing, is all there is, then their whole life changes. Because they believe, because people believe, it's not blaming, because this is what happens in the illusion of the world. You think this thing over here, that's the reality. No, that's just a little piece of the reality. But what I'm trying to do is help you to remember you're the blob. You are awareness. And when you are awareness, oh my God, your whole life changes. Joy happens, love happens, shit doesn't bother you as much anymore. And then you can walk through this world and feel like, yeah, it doesn't matter what happens to me. I'm good. I'm the blob.
Well, and I think, I agree with you. Like the importance of our awareness and it's so funny because that's overused. That awareness is now overused. But I also think
it's an experience. Awareness is experience, though, right?
Share energy between each other and all the time. Some peeps are selfish with or consume. Yeah. Thank you, Jay. So I think, okay, so here's like the difference, sometimes the way you work is you give step by step. You make it so much easier for people to get it, right? And sometimes I'm just like, we're here and we can get to here without any steps. Like you go from A to Z without any steps. But I think one area that is a little bit different is like, I think it's important for people to know. Well, and you talk about this, but choose what feels good. Choose, like you don't have to think that there's a flipping demon in the closet.
That's right.
Right.
And my thing is that the demon might be, the greatest. It could be, and it often is that that demon is your gateway to your peace. But you're like, no, no demon, no demon. I don't want. But like, look at the demon because it could help you to come back to your blob.
Yeah, well, for me, it's like, the demon's there if you need to use it, but you don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to. Well, it depends on what you're saying is demon, but.
Yeah, well, I think, lots of times people, well, just going back to the higher vibration or low vibration, and, I believe that, we can choose the higher vibration, but many people are, want to quickly remind, but there's so much bad and there's so much lower vibration, which there is if you want to entertain that.
Well, lower vibration is just fear.
Right.
And fear is not even real anyway. So
yeah, and you can bypass that. So, but anyhow, that will be one of our other shows. So, if you had to share one message that you think is, the greatest message that if everybody could hear it, what would it be?
Boy, oh boy, this is kind of tough. I'll go with my the first intuition that I had. I'm not overthinking this. The first thing that I would say is breathe. Because in the breath, and this is what I've seen with myself over and over and over, with my students over and over, is that, that thing that makes you pull away from the blob, sticking with that analogy, that makes you worry and crazy and freak out and what's the future and what's the past and all that stuff, is that you're not connected. You don't remember who you are. And I think the easiest way to do that is to really understand, stop. This is the other thing. So that stop, shut up. What's real? What's true right now? And I think that encapsulates the whole kind of thing. Because when you stop that crazy land and then you remember, then you can go from the truth, and the truth will guide you in ways you don't even know. And that's where the adventure of life begins. That's where life begins to be like, wow, this is fun. This is interesting. And that's what I practice every day, sometimes moment to moment in my life. And I know that is one of the most powerful things. And it does start with taking a breath. We have been given, this incredible body to be like, how am I going to use my body right now? Use the body because it will connect you back to all that is, for sure. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I would say is take more chances. Do more things that you're afraid of. Because the more that you do those things, the more you're going to be like, wow, I've been limiting myself. And this is what I do. I'm like, I'm doing something right now in my life. I'm like, oh shit, I'm almost scared of that. So immediately I'm like, well, that's the thing I'm supposed to do. So just go there. I think that take more chances, go into your fear, open the closet, look at the monster, and breathe while you're doing it. That's what I would say. That's my message.
I love it. I think, I definitely like, and it's funny because just the simple one of breathe, right? How often do we hear that? We hear it all the time.
We hear it all the time, but are you really doing it?
Right. It's just like awareness. We hear it all the time. So I think it's worthy of the pause, right? Of, okay, what does breathe mean to me? What does awareness mean to me? And really explore that.
Yeah. There's so much in that because it's all now. It's not when you get better. It's not, it's nowhere other than right here. And so most of the time I feel like we're being taught to get out of here. And here is where the gold is. Here is where the blob is. Here's where the awareness is. It's like, just be here, and you will be guided. And that takes practice, and that takes, doing it. So
It does take practice, but I think it deserves mentioning the full circle back. You know, you were 17 years at you know, in that job that it was rewarding, but 17 years before you stepped into where you are now. And I think that, you know, it's important for people to think about wherever you are in your life, it is serving something. So whether you're frustrated with X, Y, or Z, or you're, you know, whatever, it is serving something.
For sure. And it's serving something that you don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be grateful for the lesson, and possibly after this conversation that you're hearing, possibly you'll be like, okay, I'm done. I can move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to expand within the lava lamp.
Yeah. Oh my God. We got to get a lava lamp now.
I know.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
Okay. Any last thing that you would like to share, Max?
I think we covered a lot of really cool stuff today. Thank you. I mean, these questions really, you know, I think that they elicited some really cool stuff. And I mean, about me, sometimes it's like, you know, I don't talk about me a lot on some level because I kind of get bored. It's just like, whatever. But I don't know. I guess part of my message would be stop focusing on yourself so much.
So if they're not focusing on self, what would it be? Like not focusing on self, would you say
because when you focus on when I'm talking about self, it's like, what do I need? How am I going to get there? What are my problems? What are my successes? All that stuff.
Right.
That keeps us caught in this world of duality that's always going to win or lose. And So just don't focus about yourself right now. But here's the deal. Focus on the blob instead of yourself.
Well, yeah, because that's the ability to change, the ability to interact. And it really is. I mean, there's interaction to what's around you.
Yeah.
And it's very flexible because it's almost like oil and water, right?
Right. Totally. Because when you're focused on yourself, a lot of times when people say, love yourself, what people are trying to do is they're trying to love this part of themselves that's screwed up. That's like not screwed up, but it's stuck. Don't love that part. Love the part that's breathing.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that because I mean, maybe you can forgive the part that is struggling, but it really does. There, I just dropped something again. But it really does boil down to, I mean, as long as we're giving attention to the pain and the stuck part, guess where we stay? There.
That's right. And Donald says, focus on nothing. That's true. The nothingness is the blob. And if you just came in, the awareness. Focus on awareness. Yeah. That awareness is where all the gold is. That's where it all is. And it's so luscious and beautiful and peaceful. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so people attract positive results is your website, correct?
Yeah, my website is attractpositiveresults.com. Go there. You can find out more about me. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can find out what I'm doing and all that stuff. And also on HAPS right now, you can follow me there. And yeah, I'm just all about helping people that are really ready to make a transition in their life. Not the transition, but a transition into being more awareness so that they let go of worry, let go of doubt, let go of all of that other stuff so that they can really be find their true power.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And then we on Tuesdays do the Positive Principle Show, and that will sometimes be on my channel and sometimes on Max.
Right. Totally.
And we have a guest. Is it next week? Yeah.
Wow, we got to figure it out.
On Tuesday the 3rd, we have a very well-known guest that will be joining us who her specialty is the Akashic Records. And they actually contacted me this morning or last night. They're going to share a meditation, like so the people that tune in can download a meditation. So
Oh,
it's all about accessing the Akashic records.
That's great. Cool. So it will be live. It will be live, and we'll figure that out. But it also will be on our podcast. Go look on your wherever you get podcasts, The Positive Principal, because we have a podcast there, and so a lot of cool things. Thank you, Polly. This was really fun.
Well, thank you, Max. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we will see you soon.
Make sure you follow Polly right now. If you're on Haps or wherever you are, follow Polly Warner.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.